Live, Nick Wright, first things first, is joining us. So,
hey, what's up, buddy?
Good to see you. You know, you don't want to make too much of little stuff, but I do think little stuff, I always call it the drip, 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 becomes a faucet that's leaking. And I've got last year, and I've got minicamp and OTAs. Now I've got the net video with Caleb Williams, and I'm like, shouldn't I be a little uneasy with the moodiness, the accuracy? I mean, I watched Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. They were good immediately. Can I have questions about what I see with Caleb Williams?
Mac Jones good immediately too. I mean, the good immediately is not always the right answer. Here's the thing. I do not care about him missing these passes, especially because either the day before or the day after this video, I'm not sure the sequence of it, in this exact drill, he went 5 for 5 right into the bucket. So it's not, we know he can make that pass. The only part of this video that is bothersome to me is that part, the reaction. I do think that Caleb, as an emotional guy, needs to recognize his responsibility as the leader of the team and the quarterback, and needs to do a better job of keeping his cool. So when he was in college, people made a big deal of after the loss, I forget to whom, when he was with his mother and appeared to be crying. I kind of stayed out of that because it felt like a lot of the criticism there was a wink and a nod criticism of he paints his nails, he carries a purse, now he's crying. Well, and I felt it was untoward. What I do think would have been fair criticism, and is fair criticism, is whether it would have been him crying or if he had flipped over the Gatorade table and broken a cooler. We want our quarterback to be level-headed, to be, calm in the storm.
Yes.
And I do think that is an area he needs to improve. But I saw you yesterday, Colin. You sold just a few of your Caleb shares. And let me tell you, I had my brokers scoop him up. I was like, you know what? He's gonna sell the dip. I'm gonna buy it. I'll take more of the Caleb stock. And we'll see. I think Ben Johnson is trying, not in that drill, but trying to throw a lot at him, is fine with him struggling, is fine with him being frustrated so he can build him back up. I still believe in the transcendent talent, and I think Ben Johnson's a sharp coach. So I think it will work, but I just need him to be a little more even-keeled.
Okay, so I'm going to bounce around here, and I want to get to this topic. I said that it's a basketball topic. I didn't have a problem with LeBron James or Bronny, because we all know the deal here. If they're on a yacht in Saint-Tropez with Savannah and they don't make a press conference and they do a video call, I'm okay with it. LeBron is Messi. He's Ronaldo. We're talking different ball game here. It's Brad Pitt. He can't make every, carpet. I get it. But I said, Luka being in the kind of shape he's in, it's year 2 and 3 Luka. And last year I got lumpy Luka. This year I get lean Luka. And I think LeBron, and maybe he can handle it or maybe he can't. I don't want Austin Reeves to have the ball. I think old KD, you could argue, will play better with lean Luka than lumpy Luka. Last year, he couldn't beat people off the dribble. He needed LeBron, who still can. That I think the struggle isn't whether he's at a press conference, is that you're going to get now year 2 and 3 Luka, where he not only beat people off the dribble, he finished dunking at the rim. That guy is back. And his usage rate in those years was the highest ever. Is that I think LeBron's numbers, for the first time in his career, you will watch Luka and LeBron, and there will be a noticeable gap in performance. And we've never seen that with LeBron.
We've never seen it, but listen, LeBron last year got the 6th most MVP votes and the 6th most All-NBA first-team votes. He finished 6th in both of those categories. He was, according to the voters, the 6th best player in basketball last year. Let's assume there's a little atrophy from there going now into year 23 of his career and where he's going to be turning 41. And let's say he goes from that to 9th or 10th best in the league. Luka is one of unequivocally the 4 best players in the league. I think he's one of the 3 best players in the league. I understand that it's a harder argument to make now because of what Shea accomplished, but I think Luka is better than Shea. Everyone thought that 9 months ago. Now seemingly only I and maybe Zach Lowe think it, but I think Luka's a top 3 player in the league. He's supposed to be much better than whomever his next best teammate is. Where I disagree with people about how LeBron will take that, I think LeBron, for the better part of the last 5 years, had been hoping that he would be able to make this transition because of Anthony Davis. I think LeBron, as we saw in the Olympics, and once they got Luka last year, relishes the opportunity to be able to give more of his energy on the defensive end because he doesn't have to carry all of the load on the offensive end. LeBron's issue has, and I know this, has nothing to do with Luka or whether or not Luka has superseded him in the NBA player hierarchy at this point in his career. LeBron's singular issue is my timeline and the Lakers' timeline now totally misaligned? Or are they still at least kind of together? Where the Lakers, yes, obviously, they need to have a long-term vision, but do they also think we can win a championship right now and we are going to go for that because this might be my last year? And here is why I would argue for the Lakers, they should, unless they have a secret handshake agreement that Giannis is signing there in 2 years. The overwhelming odds that if we were to, in 3 years, when this extension for Luka's over, say, hey, who's the single best player Luka ever played with the Lakers in his 4 years with the team? The answer is likely going to be LeBron. When LeBron leaves, the idea that they're going to get one of the 6 players in the league or 7 players in the league better than LeBron as a running mate is unlikely. So if I were the Lakers, I would treat this season as we have Luka who can win MVP, LeBron's coming off a great year, we filled out the roster a bit, maybe add one more wing or maybe a backup center, and why can't we go win 4 rounds? That's what LeBron wants them to do. I don't blame him for that.
Okay, this may be below your standards of a topic choice, but
no, never.
I have had kind of a thing, and there's a lot of truth in it, although sometimes, just to be obnoxious, I go a little over the top and a little theatrical.
Oh, tell me we're doing the visor. Tell me we're doing the visor now. I'm honored. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my thing is, there are dress codes in life. There are members clubs. There's golf courses. There's events where you have to wear a collared shirt. It's one thing to have a hat on backwards for a wide receiver in an interview on the field. To be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys, a backwards visor. I had a general manager text me this morning. He goes, "You're going to get nothing but crap, and you are on target." A general manager in the league said, "Don't stop on this." Here's a guy that nobody believes can coach, and he looks like the guy that when you call 1-800-JUNK, picks up the boxes and the stuff from your garage. Yeah. It's the Cowboys. It's Bank of America. It's the biggest brand in the National Football League. That look bothers me. It does.
I know it does. I know it does. So a couple things, just one clarification for the audience. I don't know who you get on the other end of the line if you call 1-800-JUNK, but I wouldn't call it, and that's not the number Colin meant. But the point is taken. So here's the thing, Colin. You have always been right about this, and deep down, everyone knows it. But because you are maybe a touch hyperbolic or theatrical, people attack you. But we all agree that every single day we are all making choices with how we present ourselves to the world. We all agree that Bill Belichick was the reason that his gruff, cut up, dirty hoodie was considered cool was purely because A, he was an all-time winner, and B, it fit the theme that he was trying to present. Everyone knows that. Now, is a backwards hat across the board necessarily as much of a faux pas as you seem to think it is? Probably not. But is a backwards visor a good look on anyone? I'm yet to see it. And does everyone, even the biggest critics of you on this, does everyone agree? It's a matter of degree that we are arguing about.
Right.
Because everyone agrees that if he came to the press conference with mustard stained all over his face and shirtless, but said the exact same stuff, we'd be like, yeah, the presentation's wrong. We all agree that there is a level. Your level just happens to be at orientation of the cap or visor in this case, which, again, I've never cared about quite as much as you, but I also think if there were a Hall of Fame on 20-year sports topics, this is a first ballot entry. People now see people wearing backwards caps, and they're like, oh, boy, okay, we're going to get 4-minute masterclass from Cowherd today. I mean, it's kind of your legacy. It might be a little sad thing, but it's in the first page of the obituary, tell you that much.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
I probably need a second good take after 30 years of doing this. Okay, final thing on this is that the media does this with politics and they do it with personalities, is that they pick people they like. And they just decide, we like this guy. And there was a Stephen Colbert. The media's like, he's a good guy. And my take is the show's losing $40 million. It went heavy political. The demographics got 69 years old is the average age. Nobody's going to do a $40 million losing show on network TV in 2025. Maybe 30 years ago, they're not. But the media decided they liked him. And that's fine. But the media's decided they like Mike McDaniels. We're 3 years in. Brian Flores, the 2 years before Mike McDaniels got there, they had a better winning percentage than the last 3 years with him, and that's with the Patriots being a disaster and the Jets being a disaster. That the media has decided they didn't like Brian Flores. They didn't like him. They like Mike McDaniel. If I had an opening today, what are the Dolphins? I knew what Flores, after about 8 weeks, about week 9 on, those Flores teams were nasty. It took him a while to develop it. Yeah. I'm 3 years in with Mike McDaniel. Is this a case of the media deciding he's smart, we like him? Where's the there with the Dolphins?
Okay, so a couple things. First is, I think this is a take I agree with you on, unlike the Colbert take, which I vehemently disagree with you on, and we can save that for the next time I'm on the podcast. Probably not the time and place for it right now, but let's put a pin in that. We'll talk about it on the volume at some point. On Mike McDaniel, you are correct in that he reminds a lot of sports media of themselves.
Yes.
Like, that's just flatly true. Like, the smaller, wry humor, at times kind of very almost dark humor yesterday, analytical guy. I think there are a lot of people covering football that see themselves in him, which then makes you want to root for the guy to succeed. You then also, I do think objectively, he is a very smart and inventive offensive play designer, and I also think he got the absolute most out of Tua. I think there are some things to like, but yes, where I think there is, and whether this is not just about Mike McDaniel, this is about how football is covered today as analytics and as smarter people start having larger voices in covering of football. I think there is a experience gap in how physically brutal the game is and the type of people that actually play it at the highest level, and therefore how hard it can be to actually lead that group of men.
Yes.
And so to me, this is a cousin of. Sometimes I see some of the smartest people, supposedly smartest people covering football, who I think truly believe the way they present it. Every time you run the ball is stupid because the EPA per play on a bad pass is higher than on a good run and this, that, and all of it makes sense except for the fact that there is, when for 80 years, every person that's ever played the game has, one of the first things they have talked about is the importance of being able to run and like the way you can kind of sap the will of your opponent.
Yes.
At some point, you just got to be like, they probably know what they're talking about. Like, I haven't been out there, but like, I don't know. It seems like if like you can make the D tackle frustrated, there might be a value that doesn't show up in the numbers. So that's a long explanation to get to McDaniel, which is, I think there is some of the reason that the media loves him might also be related to why his team pretty clearly does not fear him the way they seem to some of the more effective coaches. And I like McDaniel, but it seems like it's gotten away from him a bit with the Dolphins. And I want to make this clear. I'm not an anti-analytics guy. I'm not an anti kind of, smart learning the game thing. But I think that there is an arrogance to the idea that in some ways that football is talked about when it comes to the actual physicality and toughness of the game that gets lost in some of the math.
No, this is something I had an executive tell me years ago. He said, and this was years, and I was at the other place, and he said, the hardest part about the draft is you just don't necessarily know on tape, am I drafting somebody who is willing to impose his will and soul on another equally big, strong man? And Ray Lewis could be smaller and slower. You turn the lights off, put Ray Lewis in a room with any other player, Ray's coming out of the room. And there is value in the NFL in just toughness.
Well, can I add to that real quick? I know we have to go, but I have said, and again, I'm not an anti-McDaniel guy, but I think people should go back and watch the Chiefs-Dolphins playoff game 2 years ago, when the Chiefs came limping into the playoffs. It was when they had the first road games. Now, they, of course, ended up going to and winning the Super Bowl because they're the Chiefs, but they seem to be a vulnerable team. And that was the third coldest game in NFL history. And Andy Reid came out, and he looked like Andy Reid. He was dressed like Andy Reid is dressed, even though by halftime, he literally had icicles on his mustache. And Mike McDaniel came out as bundled up as you've ever seen a human being. And I said on the air that week, I was like, because the Dolphins had no interest in being there. They got annihilated from the very beginning. And I said, I can't prove it, but I feel like the Chiefs saw their coach acting like this is a normal game, normal business, and they internalized it. And the Dolphins saw their coach acting like this is the coldest I've ever been in my entire life, and they internalized that. And I just think I think football's so different because it's so physically painful, it's so dangerous, it's so brutal that there is just a lot of magic in the indefinable toughness stuff. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
I'll close it on this. Years ago, I was sitting watching. It was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in a playoff game in Foxborough, and Jim Nantz is doing it, and he's going to a commercial, and they show a pre-game shot. We're coming back with a kickoff next, and they show Peyton Manning, and he looks like he's with I think the Colts at this point. He looks like he's freezing, and I'm like, it's over. Brady's out there high-fiving, and Peyton Manning, who plays in a dome in Indy, looked, and I thought, oh, that's just terrible body language. And I think we agree on that. All right, buddy.
Absolutely. Great to see you. See you, Colin.
All right. We'll get to that Stephen Colbert thing on a podcast near you. I swear we will.